Day two, confident cash flow. So happy you are here. My name's Amy. If there's any of you who are joining and are seeing me for the first time, or maybe need a refresh, great to see you all. And Pam, nice to see you. And we're really happy to have you. So there could be a couple more people who are joining. Some people couldn't be here for all of the days. Let's start today by I'd like to hear what is one takeaway you had from yesterday. Anyone want to popcorn, open up your audio and share one takeaway you had from yesterday?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I think I identified some like old beliefs around money that I think were very they're sort of old-fashioned beliefs. And even though intellectually I kind of know they're not correct, they still crop up sometimes with judgments of others and myself. And so I'm really working on having more expansion and alignment and seeing the benefit of cash flow for everyone in my world, and definitely have put together a bit of prompts, in my place to remind me of that as a truth I want to hold close to my heart. So yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Andrea. I'm so glad you got more insight. Anyone else? Top short insight from yesterday? Or maybe one thing you're looking forward to today, because knowing our topic is visibility and marketing. So I'm going to share more keys so that you can make more sales, sales you feel really good about.
I took out to ask God who are the people He wants me to reach out to and speak to, and who am I to serve. That's a big takeaway for me.
Okay, great. Just love the focus on going to source instead of it's all up to me to figure it out. Anyone else? We have time for one more. Okay, let's hop in. So today's focus, Christina, were you wanting to share? Okay. All right. So today's focus is visibility and marketing. This is all about letting our light shine so that people can get helped. And this is key activity to bringing in more sales into your life, into your bank account, allowing more money to come to you. You know, an interesting thought is that when you don't understand why you're not more focused on sales, visibility, making offers, building those relationships that turn into income, um, sometimes what you're doing is you're actually your own bottleneck because you won't receive, because there's resistance and hesitation and discomfort around receiving sometimes. It means that the people who you're meant to serve also don't get what they need. They may get it from someone else, but they won't get it in the way that you could provide it for them. And they might not get it in the timing they're hoping for either. It's interesting flow, right? If we're not willing to receive, we're only willing to give, then other people can miss out. So let's talk about, today we're gonna talk about why do we avoid it? Why do we avoid being more visible? Why do we avoid being more proactive and helping others? Why do we avoid sales conversations and making offers? There's some practical reasons and there's some internal reasons. We'll be talking about both. And then why bother? We'll be tapping into motivation to light the fire in you, breathe fresh air on the flame so that you feel hot and ready to be of service. So in order for you to step into uh, go out further. And this is an analogy I use all the time. So walk out further or go out in the boat further into the ocean instead of staying in your little fish pond. We need a strong vision. We need more structure. So what's the strategy? What's the practical structure for my days? What do I focus on? What are the priorities that are most profitable and accelerate income? And then the third is support. Whether it's someone like myself or whether it's a different type of mentor, that support is invaluable. We are going to stay the course and not get thrown off when we have someone else on our team. So, who's on your team for support? So often people feel the negative assumptions they have about sales stops them from moving forward. So, we're going to play a game too shortly here. And I just want to create this foundation today for visibility and sales focus that sales is love. Sales is how you show love. So the more often you show up for people proactively, the more you are going out on a limb and risking something in service to others because you care enough. You've decided you're going to care more about loving others through by making yourself available and making offers than risking your reputation or risking judgment or risking failure, whatever it is that might create the hesitation. So you might ask yourself today, how far out of my way am I willing to go for these people I care about so that they can get the result that I can provide for them? Am I willing to, how uncomfortable am I willing to get? I want you to put, actually, I'll make a note of this for myself to come back to after we play the game. Bear with me for a sec while I capture the insight. Okay. All right. So sometimes sometimes people hesitate, like I said, because of lack of strategy. And so they overthink. And sometimes it's more internal. So we're going to uproot anything internal in regards to aversion to sales, because many people that I work with are spectacular at offering value and helping and giving, giving, giving. And somehow magically they avoid ever making the offer or ever closing the deal because there's some weirdness about it when there doesn't have to be. So this game is called the $10,000 decision. And it reveals how you see money and how you see sales and how you see yourself. So what I'd like you to do is we're gonna get a little bit, you're free to get a little bit take up space, okay? So you can unmute. I want you to imagine someone has offered you 10,000 tonight, your time. Um, and there's no strings attached. So if you just make one offer to someone who you think would benefit or needs your work, then I want you to, so you're putting yourself in that situation. You've literally been offered $10,000 to help, to make an offer to someone who needs your work, needs your services. Who would you immediately reach out to? Is there anyone in mind? Who's the first person or organization that comes to mind? Anyone like, yep, I know, I'd like to work with that person, and I'm pretty sure that they could use my support. Nobody coming to mind? Oh, Go ahead.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Kim.
Um, so hello. So I shared this with you last night. Illumi Health is a group of health practitioners and wellness practitioners that are educating people through video content on how to live their, to live well and
Okay.
to avoid illness.
So they would be
Would
your
love to
top
work with them.
priority. Yeah, they'd be your first pick.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Who else knows oh yeah, they would be my first pick too, or an organization like this would be my first pick.
Uh,
I would
oh,
reach out to director of nurses
Director of nurses. Okay.
because their nursing staff goes through so much on a daily basis and there's so much burnout. And the part that I feel like they miss out on is the compassion fatigue piece of it. And so they don't really separate the difference between compassion fatigue and burnout. And I want them to understand that compassion fatigue is far worse than burnout. So they would be the first ones that I would reach out to.
Okay, awesome, Pam. Thanks. And great nails.
Mm. I was thinking that too. Great name.
Okay.
And they're my own, by the way.
Oh,
Even more impressive.
Wow.
Okay, so we got Illumi Health, and notice what different people are saying when they highlight their favorite group or their favorite type of person. Why? Maybe sometimes it's been shared, maybe not. We're going to go deeper into that. So, do you think that you would reach out and make an offer immediately? Why or why not?
I would say yes. And I'll tell you the reason I say yes is simply because it doesn't stop for nurses. I mean, it's 24/7 and they're expected to be always on. And it's unsustainable. But they're working double shifts and expected to show up smiling and continue to help others. And then you have to also take a step back to think, well, if those folks are really burnt out and falling into compassion fatigue, are they really the ones that I want either taking care of myself or someone in their care of my family member? So
Yeah. Just curious, have you had an incident um, within healthcare personally, Pam, that is part of your motivation?
So, not a personal incident, but I've worked in healthcare, in and around healthcare for a very long time. I've consulted in a lot of the large hospital. I was a associate vice president at one of the hospital systems here in Houston, and I've lived it and I've seen it. I've been in oil and gas as well, but healthcare is a whole different side of the equation, and I see it and I feel it for them, and I feel it because sometimes they can't feel it for themselves.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thanks for sharing a bit more.
Mhm.
Anyone else know why you would do it immediately or probably not do it immediately and hesitate?
I feel like I might have an immediate and then want to sleep on it in case I'm being impulsive. So I might pause for that reason. Um, but
So I
then maybe trusting my heart, I might go for it. So yeah, so yeah.
write yourself a note. Um, Pausing or hesitating, like pause sounds wise, hesitate shows insight. Hesitate is more displaying a clue, an internal clue. Um,
Mm.
what did you say? Am I am I being what?
Impulsive?
Impulsive, yes. Uh, so
Like, am I not
impulsive,
considering
I think,
all my options of who I could be giving this to, or am I sort of choosing what I know what's easiest or closest or something maybe or something like that?
oh,
Hmm.
interesting. Okay. We're just going to spend 30 seconds on this. So if I trusted myself, what would I go for? So that's really important, right? If I'm coming from self-trust, what action would I take? And let myself receive what comes easy, right? I feel like there's a resistance to maybe something that's just too easy. Doesn't this work have to feel a little bit grueling, a little bit harder than that? Okay. All
Yep.
right, let's move on. If you might hesitate, ladies, what would stop you? Um,
Maybe it's a too good to be true.
okay.
For me, it's not knowing exactly how to pitch in the way that will hopefully convince them to say yes. And it's like being ready. And I sometimes overthink, but it's the warm lead, which I'm really good at, versus the cold that I'm not. I don't know how to
Turn cold into
present.
warm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that would cause me to hesitate.
Okay.
So I think, Amy, I'll flip it a little bit.
What was
And
that?
I'll say, well, if they've offered me 10,000, do they really know the value of this? Because it's probably way more than 10,000. And if you lock yourself into that low rate for the amount of work that you would have to do, then you've undervalued yourself and undersold yourself too.
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it because I didn't clarify enough. So this would just be an outsider, a bystander saying, "Hey, I'll give you 10 grand if you make an offer to that
Okay.
company." But I
Yeah,
love that you're already positioning yourself as that's too low, I'm worth more.
yeah,
Let me clarify. That's too low. The outcome I help an organization achieve is more,
exactly.
not your worth, your results. So, so what happens if you don't reach out? Top thought.
Nothing happens.
Lost opportunity.
One more.
I think you both lose because the organization loses because they don't get that insight that they need, and you lose because you don't get to provide the services that you know someone deeply needs as well. So I think it's a lose-lose for both.
Yeah. So what does staying quiet protect you from?
Rejection.
Yeah. Rejection.
Maybe feeling foolish or um, who do I think I am that I can reach out to this astronomical organization? I'm this big and they're this big, maybe.
So maybe protecting you from judgment as well, or maybe from your from turning into an egotistical hothead, something like that, like a proud person who's thinking too much of themselves. Anyone else? What does staying quiet protect you from? So like, here's another way of saying it. What do you get to avoid if you don't reach out?
I think sometimes a lot of people don't reach out because they feel like it's an obvious no, when 9 times out of 10 it may be, but we self-protect ourselves from the rejection.
Yeah. And then
And
miss
a
the
lot of times people self-protect themselves because they feel like imposter syndrome, because exactly what Lori was saying, who am I to reach out to this company? But I think if you take a step back, then you should be thinking, well, I know exactly who I am, so I will reach out to this company. So,
And if we separate who I am from the outcome I help to create,
yes.
even more helpful, because if we haven't done the work to um, affirm our own value or reclaim it, then we're really messing up the sales process and focused more on like how do I name my worth? What is my worth? It's like you can't put a price on me. So I love what you said. I know exactly who I am, and I know exactly the results that I can help to deliver. So that makes me think we need to this is one foundation that I stand on, one of the pillars in becoming more visible, refining your marketing process, selling in a way that feels good to you, is we need to be loyal to our new identity instead of being loyal to false safety or comfort. So yesterday we worked on getting to the root of what is my false identity? What am I believing about myself that's stopping me from making the income that I want? Because it's always rooted to something deeper you're believing about yourself that usually you're not aware of. You think I just need strategy, new tools, somebody to tell me what to do. Yes, that is very helpful, but it's not sustainable without an identity reset. So, how could I be loyal? First, understand what am I believing about myself that's been holding me back this whole time? And what new identity could I step into and be loyal to? Am I being faithful to my desires? Am I being true to my new self? Because when you come from assuming, so this is an identity reclamation, that I am wanted. I assume I'm wanted and I step into my work activity from that place. I assume I'm important, not more than other people, not less than other people, equally important. I assume that I'm full of worth and deep value, and people want me and the valuable service I provide in their lives. If you come from that, then you're never selling your worth or value, and you're never getting confused around your rates because you offer outcomes and results. That's what you're selling. Money exchange for service is a value exchange, and your value isn't up for grabs. Money's the byproduct of that value exchange. So sometimes I've heard clients say that they feel if they confidently tell a potential client or corporate client what results they can help them create, they feel a lot of pressure and uneasy about promising that. And so it's important to remember that you're not the source of a company or individual's transformation. You're the conduit. And visibility, sales, and marketing is all about being willing to be the conduit for source or God or spirit to flow through. So, with that being said, this is really, really important and foundational. It is not all up to you. If you have that thought embedded somewhere inside you, it is not all up to you. If you learned that, let me give you an example. I grew up from about age 10, my parents separated, and we lived with my mom, and she worked her butt off to financially provide for us and obviously provide for us in all the other ways, in love and protection and everything like that. But unfortunately, because of what I witnessed in how hard she worked, I took on this belief that um, accomplishing big goals takes hard work. And there's research that shows that our beliefs impact our nervous system, which literally impacts our physiology. Lori's like, uh-huh. I think Lori could preach on this. I'm sorry, Kim could preach on this. So I didn't realize that I was carrying that belief that to accomplish great things, it will require hard, heavy work. Because I saw my mom work that hard. So I just picked it up unconsciously. Remember, yesterday we talked about the unconscious accepted beliefs versus the conscious intentional agreements, right? Much different, but they both run our lives. So we better become aware of what's running the show and master them instead of being their slave. So I picked up that kind of accomplishment takes hard work, sweat. I just have to put up with the pain in my body and push through. Another belief that was running the show in me was that it's all up to me, which is why I shared this story in the first place. It's all up to me meant that I had to be the one with the big shoulders. I had to be capable. I had to carry all the responsibility. And humanly speaking, that sounds really responsible. It sounds really rational. It sounds like, well, that's the way everybody has to do it. Of course, um, of course, it's all up to you. It's your business. But it's not true. It's backwards, especially if you're spiritual. It's actually up to God, and I am the follower, and I get to be a partner in this, and I get to be a co-creator, but I'm not the leader of it. I never could be. It's too much responsibility for me. It makes me tired, right? So I'm not the source. I'm the co-creator, and I get to say yes and follow, and I still have hands and feet, and I need to do my part, but it's not all up to me. So getting back to the point of their breakthrough is not all up to you. You're the conduit, not the source of what they need. And I'll land with this, that your obvious is somebody else's breakthrough. So now we're going to get practical. Sometimes we undervalue what gifts we bring to others because it's just easy for us. And it's just so natural, or because you've overcome certain challenges, you have these new skill sets now. And doesn't everybody know that? So I'd like you to um, put in the chat what insight, anything that I've been teaching on or that we've been talking about has really landed with you. You can either put it in the chat or you can share out loud before we move forward.
I'm curious, when you started to trust in co-creation, I want to say, how did it prove it to you? I imagine it wasn't like that, but there's a piece of me that wants to have some assurance or proof somehow in that. So I have doubts sometimes, I guess, is what I'm curious about that.
I
But
have
I'm very
doubts too.
intrigued. Okay.
But I choose to move forward through the doubt and it makes the doubt disappear. So one of the ways that I practically practice that co-creation process is I surrender. I literally have to surrender my desire to be the one in control because that feels way more safe to be the one in control. And then I slow down to listen for greater awareness and guidance on my next right step instead of blindly or not blindly, robotically thinking that my plan is the best plan, my timing is the best timing, and there's nothing higher than me, right? So slowing down to listen is an act of humility. And we, humanly speaking, we want to have proof before we take action. But I've been shown time and time again how backwards that is. So I'll give you a story. When I was invited to speak for the Yukon government, their Department of Environment, and I was thrilled. Got paid really well. And I won't share the story of how I got that speaking gig this time, but I want to share with you more about the intertwinement in regards to the co-creating focus and my conversation with God around that experience. So I remember doing all the preparation. I gave the presentation. I felt really good about it. And there was this part of my heart that wanted more, which is why you're all on the call today. You've achieved a lot. You're really thankful for your life, and you still want more. There's still a more for you, okay, that's invisibly drawing you forward. And that's a good thing because it means you want to keep growing. So I really wanted more. And I was like, what is this? This feels kind of selfish. I just got invited to speak for the government of Yukon, and I'm disappointed because I didn't get invited to go there in person. I wanted to speak for them in person, God. And and so I let myself sit with that disappointment. I talked with God about it. And and I felt like he was just sitting there listening to me and smiling, but he didn't say much. And I was like, okay, so I guess it's okay. I'm disappointed. Obviously, I'm allowed to have my emotions, have like a little mini pity party. And then I felt like he was going like this, like a dad would kind of gently push their child forward a little bit, like inviting me into my desire. And so I thought, well, is it bad for me to want more? Am I being selfish? Could I just go to Whitehorse and put on a presentation and allow myself to have that desire of my heart? Could I tell them I'm just coming and invite them and see what happens? Man, that feels selfish, I thought. I could just go and enjoy myself and have what I want. Then I thought, that's irresponsible. That's not a good use of money. And I want it to pay off before I go. God, I want proof that this trip will be worth it, that it will be financially uh, successful. And so I felt like kind of like a little girl digging her heels in a bit. And so I started doing what we need to do with our hands and feet. So I started creating an invite. I had a past client I'd never met in person who I wanted to see who lived in Whitehorse, and that was also another personal desire. I also love adventure and travel and all that fun stuff. So that would be a benefit for me. Also, one of the reasons why I resisted because it felt too enjoyable. And I started putting together the plan of action, where we would meet, who I would invite. I started inviting government representatives who had been on the call or not been able to attend the training. I started inviting physicians and entrepreneurs, three of the people groups that I serve. And I had maybe three people take up my offer and respond to my reach outs, and I was reaching out a lot. So I was feeling a little bit hard done by and frustrated. And I remember going down to my fireplace in front of my house and thinking, the date's getting close. I still want to do this, God. I was in another conversation with him, and I was starting to think, I got to buy my ticket if I'm serious and I'm committed. I was on the verge of being fully in. I gotta rent a car too, God, and I'm putting out this money and I have no proof this is even worth it. I want proof beforehand, right, Andrea? And so I heard God very clearly. I said to him in that moment, I would you give me proof that this will succeed and be worth it financially? And he said, no. It's the first time I ever heard no. And I was like, almost felt like, God, like you're allowed to say that to me? And um, the second thing I heard from him was, are you going to keep needing proof before you take action, or are you going to trust me? We got years under our belt here of faithfulness. You still need proof before you take action? And I was like, whoa, kind of felt like somebody made me stand up straighter in that moment. And I was like, okay, here we go. Purchasing the car, purchasing the flight. And I kid you not, 1 day later, 2 days later, it took maybe 6 days and the room was full. I'd maxed, sold out the event. And that's how God works. It's not proof first. It's I'm going to trust you, and it's scary. And that's what moving forward with God is like. We trust the internal nudges. We then take action, and the water parts as we step into it. The water doesn't part before you step into it. It parts because you stepped into it, and because faith pleases God. I had no clue that these trainings were going to be so spiritually focused. But this is who I am, so surprise, surprise. Uh, Side note on
Perfect.
outcome. Yeah, thank you. Side note on the outcome. Uh, oh, sorry, I was just heard somebody outside. What resulted was beautiful. God taught me that part of his plan is our enjoyment, and that enjoyment is a good thing. It's okay. Greater levels of enjoyment are like receiving greater levels of income. He does want to bless us with the income, but it's only part of the desires of our hearts. And then there's other aspects of the desires of our hearts that get met in the process too. And part of stepping out in faith is learning how to receive in greater measure the abundance of everything that he desires to give to us. So that trip was more than paid for by work that I got in Whitehorse. But most importantly was that what I learned in the process, and probably what I got to see, and who I got to spend time with while I was there. It was just thrilling. So yeah, sometimes we want proof, but that wouldn't require any faith. Then we're still trying to control. Okay, thank you for the question. I would love to hear what else is coming up for anyone else before we move forward. A question, an insight. And then I've got an activity I'm going to wrap us up today with.
I'll say mine out loud because I somehow locked my keyboard and I can't figure out how to unlock it. So
Okay.
I'll just say it out loud. I wrote down something you said, which is that I'm the conduit for value to flow through. And I think that was, again, co-creation. God helps me provide value to those who need it, and I'm the conduit. So that was powerful for me.
Okay, good. Wonderful. Yeah. The pressure is off your shoulders. You still have responsibility, but you're not the source.
Right.
Anyone else?
I did write a comment. I said it's hard to know because you had said this, hard to know what I think is obvious and what others don't know. I think that's a really hard piece sometimes to get your head around, particularly for me because I'm going into a totally new field. So, do they really know do they already know what I know? And they haven't been in the field that I've been in.
So I would write down these statements and they can work for any industry, for any ideal target market, you guys. Um, what I used to think I needed to achieve X goal, or what most people think to achieve X goal, what's needed to achieve X goal. Kim, do you want to share your example from yesterday when we were talking, just to give some framework, or can I share it?
Yeah, go right
Okay.
ahead. Mhm.
Kim had told me yesterday that uh, Illumi, right? That's the
Illumi
organization.
Health.
Okay.
Mhm.
That most people are putting band-aid solutions, short-term solutions on um, health problems that are rooted in deeper issues instead of having awareness and tools to solve those deeper rooted health issues that are so problematic that Kim herself has experienced and can relate to.
Mhm.
Um, People are continuing to have to face these really negatively impactful health issues because they don't have access to greater awareness and tools to really get to the root of health issues so that they can transform their lives. So, Lori, you said, is there anything you would add to that, Kim?
No, that was beautiful. Well
Okay, good.
said.
Okay.
Yep.
Lori, hard to know what I think is obvious and others don't know. So when you think about that framework and you apply it to across the board to leaders and you fill in the blank, most leaders think that to achieve X, like to do excellent as a leader, they need A and B, or they think A and B will solve their problem. But in actuality, it probably prolongs their problem and stops them from achieving what they want. That will lead you to more clarity around the transformation that your speaking engagements provide organizations and leaders within those organizations. Um, Also, what helps you tap into the obvious that is highly valuable and people will pay you for is what makes you mad that you don't want to see prolonged on this earth in people's lives, or what makes you fired up and passionate, right? Like one of my whys is I hate seeing people who are dear to me. I hate seeing how um, this feeling like that overwhelm and internal pressure, un undiagnosed, unseen in a person's life stops them from having the connection they want with their spouse and children, stops them from having the healthy, vibrant lives that they want and the joy that they want. And it stops them from being able to create the income and work with the people that really light them up because they're unaware of the blocks that they have and the strategies that are needed that are quite straightforward and simple, right? So where do your passions lie? That helps you become aware of what's obvious to you, maybe simple or straightforward for you to share and translate for them. We can talk about this more one-to-one as well. So I'd like you to write down in the chat one challenge that I've been through. This will help you start formulating, what do I want to share more about? And what could a call to action look like? A direct reach out or on social media or through email. Um, where you have gone through the most challenges is where you have the most power now. So where you've been bitten is where you have the most power. And I would like to hear, right? So I have been bitten or I have been challenged in having, in the past, I can remember when I had very, very porous boundaries and I thought I had to be available 24/7. Um, and so my family took the brunt of that. I also did not know that I was leaning on my own understanding and trying to lead the process of wealth creation without God, even though I've been a believer in Jesus all my life. And so my eyes were opened 3 or 4 years ago to that fact. And because I hit the pavement in that area of my life and really had a hard time for about 6 months and walked through that challenge, I was able to now I can bring that story forward and help other people restore their relationship with money so that it's healthy and they can receive the abundance that's meant for them and help the people that they're meant to work with. So that's two examples of where I've walked through a challenge. I'd love to hear where you've walked through a challenge so we can identify where your power lies. And tomorrow we'll go more into communicating that because we need to have articulate language for that. If we're trying to help everyone with everything, we become like white noise. We need to be articulate and we need to be speaking the language of our clients. So it feels like we're reading their mind. Okay, let me see in the chat here. Burnout, bitten by burnout. Yeah. And you could even say that in some of your copywriting. I really like somebody recently told me that they didn't realize they'd reached their boiling point until it was too late. Somebody that I met here. Where have you been bitten? Where have you faced a challenge that now you have empathy with others and you have tools to share with them that are different from somebody else who can't really relate because they haven't walked through that fire? You've been challenged with carrying general baggage. Okay, and I would ask myself, oh, generational baggage. Okay. So do you feel like you've had the opportunity to break some of those changes for your chains for your family to come, Pam?
Yes, I really have. But in the beginning, it wasn't easy because, being the only Black female on the call, it's easy to say, um, with much respect that, you know, generationally we would hear, don't, don't make a fuss. Don't disturb whatever. You've got a good job. You get paid well. Be happy to be in the room. But that's not what I feel like I was meant to do. I wasn't just meant to sit there and be happy to be in the room because I've always been a risk taker and a rule breaker. So for me, it just didn't sit well. And so it's something that I felt like it was my duty to break that generational curse. And I feel like for myself, I have, but I can tell you for a lot of Black and brown women, it still hasn't happened because they still feel that way.
Yeah. Like that old messaging, sit down, be quiet, be
Yeah.
thankful, don't want
Yes.
more. Don't be the disturber, like you said.
Yes.
hmm
Yes.
So I would encourage you, Pam, to get personal, get vulnerable, not necessarily with us. And just so you know, on these calls, everyone, there's this sweet vulnerability edge, and it's yours to determine how vulnerable you get, what feels right for you. So back to you, Pam, I would encourage you to get vulnerable with yourself. You probably already know um, which generational curses uh, you have stepped in with like your warrior spirit and broken for the so powerful, hey? Broken for your children and grandchildren so that they don't carry it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Powerful work. Good for you.
And I
Um,
speak about it a lot too on LinkedIn. So I'm going to drop my LinkedIn. So you ladies, if you want to connect, please do so. I'm not going to, you know, assume you want to connect, but if you do, connect.
that's great. Thank you so much. I'm sure many will. So, which specific ones have you broken, and how could that apply to the people you're most passionate about working with? Because you may have opportunities that you haven't been thinking of, where maybe there's a strong desire for a need to be met, a gap to be filled that maybe you haven't tapped into yet. And that's really what I want you to be tapping into over these 3 days, these 3 classes is where am I feeling led internally versus where other people tell me I should go?
Mhm.
What do other people think is a good decision for my career and business right now versus what feels like my best decision? What would other people approve of if I made that decision versus I would really approve of myself if I made this decision. This feels good for me. Um, I want you to ask yourself if I was like love in action, I was like love on fire, um, and I removed money as my goal because it was never meant to be the goal, you guys. Money's awesome. It's okay to want it. And it gets to be a reward. It's a reward. Service is the goal, loving is the goal, and money gets to be the reward. And we are meant to be in service. So naturally, it's okay to receive that money as a
Mhm.
reward. And so I will end today with that. When you show love through your marketing, you are not trying to convince anyone, you're educating them. You're just showing them what's possible. And then, like a waitress at a restaurant, you're allowing them to decide would they like this meal or that meal? Do they want the appetizer or the full meal deal? Do they want the highest priced wine with their meal or not? They get to decide. You're educating them, you're helping them become aware of their needs, their wants, their challenges, the cost of inaction,
Mhm.
the value of your service versus doing it their own way. So, who still feels like clarifying your messaging and articulating your value is something that needs refining? Can I see a show of hands if that really resonates for you or not? Okay, 2 of you,
Yeah.
2.5. Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll be doing a little bit of work on that tomorrow. I want to encourage you as we wrap up today that your the breakthrough that you want financially and in regards to like feeling fulfilled and so aligned working with the people who you're passionate about helping, it's so much closer than you think. And the work itself can feel so much more like you're flowing down river than pushing a ball up a hill. I just felt led to read this to you from my journal. I'll end with this. I got this message during a massage recently. It was more of a picture that God was speaking to me. Do you want to be a rigid stick? I saw a rigid stick in a river. Do you want to be a rigid stick in the river, unable to be moved or guided or directed down the river? You think there's only one way to achieve your goal. Your narrow focus causes you anxiety, stress, and pressure. Like, there's only one way for me to achieve this, right? And when we think of that narrow, then it can become our internal world can become pressurized. Your narrow focus causes you anxiety, stress, pressure as you firmly push to make your plan, the best plan, happen. Your way feels like the only way, the safe way, and the tiring way. Or your other option is you could be the soft and flexible reed in the river who's open to guidance, direction, and an easier, better way of accomplishing your goal. This way feels uncomfortable because you're surrendering yourself and your ways to the better, lighter feeling way. This means you may feel out of control, but it's a lie that you're unsafe. The flow of the river is safe. So I saw the stick in the river was like immovable versus the tender green reed was literally uprooted and floating down in between other reeds in the middle of the center of the river. That's what it looks like to trust and be led. And it doesn't mean that we're not doing our side of things. We'll also be talking about how to differentiate what's ours to focus on, what's ours to work on, put our hands and feet and mind to, and where we are trying to do too much, where we're trying to control what we can't control. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, as well as refining any tweaks that you need to refine your messaging. I'll be supporting you with that. And with a main focus on creating better time use, efficient and effective time use, so that we can shorten the time that it takes to close your next client, to close your next speaking gig or deal. So I'm super excited about that. And what I'd like you to do between now and then is if you have one maybe one challenge that we haven't covered yet over the last two classes, I'd really like you to drop it in the chat now. What's your top challenge still feel like it is? What would you say your top challenge is that you'd like more support with? You can drop it in the chat.
I probably need to think more on it.
Okay, yeah. Letting me know would be super valuable for me.
I'll throw this out. It's a little weird, but I'm single and it's emotionally distracting
Oh, okay, that's
because
great.
I don't like being single. So again, it feels like it's a different topic, but maybe it isn't. So anyway, I just wanted to say it verbally because I wasn't sure how it would come across written.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Lori or Kim, do you have an insight you want to share? Or you could personally also reach out to me and let me know what still seems the most challenging about the process.
I just put in the chat. It's creating the messaging to turn a cold lead into a warm one because
Okay.
I'm not used to reaching out to someone I don't have a connection with already.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I'd say to that when as we close here is come from positive assumption first.
Okay. Okay.
They want to hear from me. They'll be interested. There's great
Mhm.
possibility this could go somewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Christina, you said, I can see my value, but making others see it. Okay. Yes, there's more that I want to speak to on that, but today not. Pam, thank you so much, Christina, for sharing that. Super valuable for me to read. Pam, I wanted to say that you don't know this. I don't think you read this and you haven't been on yesterday's call, so I'll fill you in. After every group call, then I have a private half an hour with those of you who want to get more deeper support and guidance on your situation. And that's $97 for today and tomorrow together. And if you want to be a part of that, you can just stay on the call. and we can work it out later. I can send you the investment link
Okay.
to, yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I will just drop that there. For tomorrow's focus is refining your message, creating clear priorities for better time use, and differentiating what's yours to focus on and what's not, so that energetically you don't decline your cognitive functioning. You know, you don't drain yourself by stressing about things that are not yours to focus on.
Mm.
Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome evening. And it's been really valuable for me to spend time with you. I just love it. Take care.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Bye.
Amy.
See you,
Bye.
Kim, as well. If we're not going to see you tomorrow,
I
nice
know. Bye,
to be
Andrew.
part of this with
I
you.
know a
So
lot
nice.
of us are in the Vancouver area, so I'm sure we'll cross paths too.
Absolutely, we always will. So nice to see you. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.